Alright, so let's start off with sculpting this big rock that we have over here. So first you go to Lightbox, and then we will double click on one of these Dynamesh stone block that we have in the default ZBrush window. Okay, so you notice that I have this PureRef array set up. It's always on top for image, and then it's pretty awesome. We can use this in ZBrush. It's my favorite method of sculpting to reference, and it's always very important for us to sculpt using a reference image and to respect the reference. Okay, so you really need very important to have this step over here, and always sculpt following a reference, and then you'll make yourself learn to apply more details and become a really good sculptor. Okay, so first I'll just off my dynamic perspective over here, so I prefer to sculpt in isometric mode. And then maybe if I just look at this model, I would want to rotate this. So I'll press E, and then I'll want to rotate this granite block in this direction, so it'll kind of fit my reference a little bit better. Okay, I would also use my number 3 brush, inflate, and then I'll just push it up, make it a little bit bigger on some of these areas, and maybe a little bit more on the bottom. Okay, and use my SnakeHook to squeeze in as well. The symmetry is still on, and then it's applying on both sides. So when we are done with getting some of this overall shape out, I think what I want to do is to do a Dynamesh, change this Dynamesh value to 450. Okay. 450. Then I'll press. Let it Dynamesh again, and then you notice that the points I have has been changed to 1.9 million. Okay, 1.9 million. And then I'm still changing the overall shape, so I'm not too worried that it doesn't look very light yet. But you can see something that is very cool that's happening is that no matter how we stretch this stone surface that we have seems almost magical. It's like it's just applying this right on the surface no matter how I stretch it. How cool is that? So what's happening is that there's this button called surface. So it's actually applying a surface noise on top of our model. And then this is just a preview. So actually, if we were to want to bake this to our model, we will need to press apply later. Okay, anyway, let's get back to sculpting. I just use my number 9 brush, press OK, and then I'll start using Ctrl Shift to start to chop things up. Try to use my observation skills to chop some of these things away. Scale things smaller if I have to. So depending on where you drag your number 9 brush, your ClipCurve brush, sometimes you go from right to left, sometimes you go from left to right. So you have to really tweak your angle accordingly. So right now I want to create this dent over here, and then I'll use my number 1 brush. And I can press alternate to just push in this space here. Okay, so just using number 1 brush. Number 1 brush is really powerful. Okay, and then I'm using the front face here. So if I was to snap to this front face, I would snap and I'll mod. So essentially what I'm trying to say is I'm sculpting this based on the front view. Okay, so it's not like I'm rotating this object 90 degrees or 45 degrees, something like that, but I'm using this to just sculpt based on the camera angle that I have. Okay, so now I think I start to have some different scenario. So maybe I want to off my symmetry, so I will no longer have symmetry. Okay, from now on I want to off my symmetry. So press Q to go back to sculpting. Why is it always so big? And yeah. can see that as I change this intensity, just now I was on too small of an intensity because I was working on another project. So that's why it was not as strong. So, or if you finish your project, you may want to press reset all brushes. So all your brushes goes back to default. It's always good to do that once in a while. Just a little bit cleaner. And I'm pressing a lot of alternate, so I'm opening some windows by accident. But basically, when you push into this large piece of rock, it's very successful, I think, to use subtracting, so I'll keep pressing alternate and then keep pushing in on many of these areas, and then I'll use inflate to just push this out a little bit, because just now I seem to have cut in too much. And then I think I'll use my number 9 brush. Skip this node, please. Cut over here. Okay, so I want to have some cool cuts like this. It's very important. So make something bigger, cool cut, and make another cool cut here. And trying to shape this more and more like my reference. On 6 brush, I'll create some orb cracks, and I want my cracks to be really deep but smaller in size but pretty deep. So start creating some cracks here. Hopefully I'll be able to get this shape going. Sculpt to your reference, the reference that you have, and then try to respect it. Try to get as close as you can. And with PureRef, we can always zoom in if we need to make it really good. Okay, so this side, I realize in my reference is actually really flat, so I want to create something really flat over here. So start to carve it in. Probably can't do that. Let me pull it out again. I still need that. Using my SnakeHook with a very big brush stroke to kind of shape it nicely. This one, number 9 brush, try to cut it again. So here is where it gets interesting. I'll starting to use my number 9 brush to really cut to the silhouette. So just now I stretched quite a bit, so let me just re-Dynamesh again. Off and on the Dynamesh, so I'll create a new Dynamesh for this. Start such a chip things off here as good as I can. I think that's pretty okay, pretty cool on the other angle. And push this out a little bit more. On and off Dynamesh again. And chop this down. When I use back my number 6 brush again. Get some orb cracks around here. Try to have a little bit fun. The stone shape is very organic, so you can have quite a bit of fun. You may not need to follow my reference, but you should try to see how I'm able to create different textures on different surface areas. Maybe I'll just use a little bit of masking here. Masking, Control, opposite, and I'll just press move to move it. Should do that a little bit more. So let me try again. Use my Control, do a bit of masking. One mask here, one mask here. Ctrl I to invert it, and then I'll just press W and move these two areas out a little bit. And I'll also use my SnakeHook. Actually, I'll just pinch it. 7 brush, pinch. Snake. And it's worth a try. Okay, maybe if you have some difficulties creating spots like this, just try it out. If you and then use the gizmo brush to try to get what you want. So now I have 4 spots. Ctrl I, press W, and then I'll push it out from this angle. And then now I'm still selecting this, so I can still make changes to this shape here. So I'll just SnakeHook it. SnakeHook it to make it a little bit more organic. Okay, so but you don't want to do anything illegal. So sometimes you may create weird stuff. Something that is too thin or something that could be corrupted. So try to take note of that. And yeah, I'd say that's pretty successful. I'll use my number 1 brush to start adding a bit of volume down. And yeah, alright, so maybe we'll stop the first part of the video here. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.